I am beautiful.
I belong to you.
I belong to
you. Do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
What's it into an area? Keo, Zamora!
And I always be wrong when you need some love and baby. No one else.
Yeah. Put you down.
Great song to start the weekend. I'm telling you, I can't stop dancing to it. Hey guys, I am Si. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode 89. The show is live, available on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, your home to many great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts, and more. So give us a follow on social media. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click that bell to get notified every time we go live or put out new shows or series. And of course, you can get the audio and radio versions at the usual podcast and radio platforms. The links to all of which are in the description below. And if you want to streamline your experience and just follow the football shows, it's at AC Footy Show on all social media platforms. So going to mix it up a little bit, so we're going to change it up a bit. So first of all, just as we wait for the chat to fill up on the various platforms, big thank you to Black Diamond Sports as always for all their support regarding the show. They're a global sports agency. They represent sports stars from around the world. You can get more information at their social media pages, or you can also check out their brilliant website, and it is a beautiful website, I gotta say. Joining me as ever is the man with the plan, the king of the over 40s league at the moment. He is on fire. Ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, the goal machine. It is David Jones's favourite son, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, buddy. How are we?
I'm not bad, mate. Yeah, thank you. Different week. I think it's the first week in a long time. We haven't had
another international break.
Yeah, we haven't had a full week of championship games, but yeah, another international break. But one thing I will start with, I'd like to start with, is obviously a championship player, ex-Cardiff City player, excelled last night in goal for Scotland, which, you know what I mean. I'm all for the competitive games, as you all know. I love the Euros and I love the World Cup, and yesterday was a proper game. You know, I watched extra time and I watched the penalties, and I just had a feeling Scotland would do it. And now they play England, which is even better. Because it'll give players a platform, and hopefully we can somehow get some supporters back in stadiums, because that'll be some occasion for some of the ex-Cardiff City players, for David himself, for Kev McNaughton, for all the other ex-Cardiff City Scottish players. You know, to have that kind of reminisce and day out at Wembley, so to speak. It'd be lovely.
Yeah, big shout out to Kev McNaughton. He probably needs some paracetamol today. He had some red wine celebrating, and why shouldn't he? You know, a big congratulations, to Scotland, of course. But I think this international break is slightly different, because this week it is competitive games in terms of it's the playoffs and whatnot. What I will say is, 8-9 games into the season, and I think this is the third international break. Like, to me, that's overkill so early on. I know we've got the COVID and everything's changed, and they're trying to jam pack everything in, but like 3 international breaks before Christmas seems too much. But we're not going to get onto that before anything. So one thing I did want to sort of chat to you just before we get into the football. obviously, Bespoke Financial is the sponsor of our shows, Monday and Friday, and we give them a nice plug each week. But and we play like a video from it. But I wanted to talk to you really about you because you used their services for stuff. I'm less familiar with the kind of services which they provide, so I just wanted to get your point of view on what they do and why you rate them so highly.
Listen, I'm good friends with Darren, and I mean, this isn't me being just trying to blow smoke up his backside. He's a really nice fella. He's looked after my family, my brother, myself, my wife, my kids. I've got policies with him. Policies can start at couple of pounds a month, a couple of pounds a week, and it covers you for if you're out of work, if you get injured anywhere, you don't have to be injured at work. It could be get injured on a night out, you could slip over and hurt yourself, and it covers you. And I've really liked it, and I really liked it when I came out of professional football because it gave me that security that if I ever did get injured, that I'd get looked after. I spoke to Darren yesterday, and he told me he's never been so busy in terms of people claiming because people are ill, people are getting injured, and people are calling him left, right, and centre. But anybody who gets a new policy, he told me yesterday, he said really, and this is a really, really good one I find because it's something that obviously I've got as well. That they're giving a free will out for people who get a new policy, and this will covers everything for you and your family. Obviously for when you're not here anymore. And it's worth £140 plus. You know what I mean? So it's a big investment, and it's something
incredible. Mate.
It's something important, and I swear by it. You know what I mean? The company's amazing. It's run by local people in my area, but they're very passionate about helping people out, and the awards that they're picking up. Phenomenal. So you know what I mean, get in touch. You know what I mean. Daz's details are they're going to be on social media a lot more.
Yes.
They're at the end of the show. Give him a call. If you message me and you want his number, I'll happily pass it on. He won't mind phone calls 24/7. I know that he lives and breathes his work. So, but it's important. And if you're involved in any kind of sport, for me, I think it's a must, 100% must, because it's peace of mind. And every team that I played for, I always tell the younger players, the older players, and a lot of players have used it and got the benefits out of it as well, which is important because injuries are part and parcel of life, football, sport. So it's key for me.
Yeah, 100%. And they do like mortgage cover and things like that as well. Insurance, like mortgage covers, vital, I think. When you think of like all the people who've been furloughed now in the last 6 months or this year, like furloughed or they've lost their job, mortgage cover, I think, is more important than ever. And obviously, when they contacted you and then you contacted me and said, "Oh, look, they're interested in sponsoring the show," before I spoke to them, I googled them, and like you mentioned there, they get awards for their service and everything. They're like they really are top of the tree in your part of the world, and obviously they're looking to expand to other parts of the UK. And I think, look, I wouldn't partner up with just anyone. Like I've said to you before, it's very easy to get podcast sponsorships for Blue Chew, for instance, which I've got nothing against them. And I would, if they contacted me and said they wanted to sponsor one of the shows, if it was the right show, I'd be happy to do it. But I'm very, what can I say? Like, I want to partner with the right brands, with the channel, with the shows. I don't just want to partner with anyone. So it was important for me to partner with someone who wants to do things the right way for the right reasons and offer ultimately, the tip-top service, the best service out there. And obviously when people contact them, they should, tell them that you heard about them from us. So lots to talk about. Obviously, going back to Scotland, a massive congratulations to them.
And disappointing for Ireland as well, Si.
I was going to mention them.
There's a lot of Championship players in their squad. You know what I mean? Two of them play for Middlesbrough, who I see on a weekly basis. So disappointed for them, but it was always going to be a big ask. To get all the home nations in a tournament was going to be. It's difficult.
Northern Ireland, I feel personally like they suffered when Michael O'Neill left.
I did feel yesterday for Ian Barraclough. I've came across Ian quite a few years ago when he was a player at Notts County and followed him his career into coaching, and now seeing the opportunity he's got, which is a fantastic one, and I really hope he does well. I really hope he excels and pushes him back to the level that we're at, or to another level. But it's going to be tough because of FIFA rankings and things. And I watched Republic of Ireland yesterday against England, and it was listen, it was men against boys. It was, and that was England's second string team, so to speak. So difficult one for the home nations.
But I think when they do play England, it's a one, like it becomes a one-off game, doesn't it? Like Scotland will be so bang up for that.
With
that
fans,
I think
with support, with supporters in the stadium, with 8,000 Scottish mad fans in that stadium,
it's different.
It will make it a different game. With no supporters there, there's no real pressure on England to, you know what I mean? No hostile atmosphere. There's no pressure. You know, the pressure's just a game of football and 11v11, and it's a little bit. Yeah, it puts it probably evens the pressure out, which is better for England.
Yeah, a couple of questions straight off. Peaches, first of all, thank you. She sent a super chat in on YouTube. Also, she said, "Can I do a word association?"
Yes,
she
please.
did not wait. She didn't wait for the answer. Would you like to do the word association now, or do you want to do it at the end of the show?
Be nice, please.
She's already sent it in.
Oh,
do you want it now or later?
Let's start with it. Let's start with it.
Word association. So you got to just say the first thing which comes to mind, basically like Magnificent Seven, I suppose, isn't it? Vinnie Jones.
Gaza.
You nearly said something else. Ian Wright versus Peter Schmeichel.
Oh, 2-foot tackle.
Nasty. Craig Bellamy.
Golf club.
Scotland or England in the Euros?
Oh, easy. England.
Scotland. Thank you, Peaches. You're always welcome to send them. I always
love him.
Rob Boyle asked a question. He said, where did he say? What did he say? He said, are they taking on staff? I assume he was talking about
I've seen that
Bespoke
question.
Financial.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's always opportunities to for their company to grow elsewhere, i.e. South Wales, anywhere else. So, you know what I mean? There's always opportunities. They're trying to grow nationally, trying to grow everywhere. So, conversations to be asked and to had, I think. So,
indeed. I would like to ask a question to the viewers just really quickly. I've just had a look on YouTube myself. Is my camera looking better, my picture looking better than normal? I'd like to know on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, if people can tell me, because I've been working hard to try and sort it out. I've got new internet and
do you mean this? Do you mean this? Or do you mean?
Well, no, the moneymaker is always looking good, but like just the general picture, because my picture's always got a weird quality because of the green screen. But I just wondered if it looks a bit better to me anyway.
I like it.
So I just wonder what people are there. But got to vary these things up. Always looking. I thank you, Rob. He says I look beautiful. Kelly says it looks good. So that's good. The super fast broadband is working well.
Kelly just said yes.
Yeah, I just assumed that she means that it looks fantastic.
Rob's looking for something.
Well, yeah, Gavin says much better. Geraint says my beard looks great. Thanks for that, Geraint. There you go. Kelly says almost Ultra HD 4K. There we go. Beautiful. Sick. And Reece says the quality's definitely better.
Ruined it.
See, a super fast broadband, mate. I'm telling you, that was the key. It was the Cardiff broadband that was the problem. Where do we start, mate? I've got so much to say, and it's almost like I don't know where to start. One thing I want to say, I talked about this very briefly last night. We talked about this on the Mental Health in Sports show, which is going out in a couple of weeks, but I want to just mention it quickly, mate. Greg Clarke, who got sacked from the FA or resigned or left by mutual consent, absolute disgrace. But what I want to say is, right, his apology focused on his use of a basically racist term, which quite rightly, it shouldn't be used in 2020. I think the fact that he was comfortable to use that in a press conference / interview shows that if he was in a private conversation, he would use that same term. What I also thought was disgusting was the sexist comments which he made about women's football in there, as well as his comments about homosexual players. I thought it was absolutely mind-boggling, and it made me so angry. I'm glad that he was gone quickly, but I think in 2020, the FA as an organisation need to vary up who's in charge. They need to get some diversity in there instead of having just a bunch of old white guys who are just absolute ridiculous, mate. And
listen, Si, though, we've got an opportunity now to put some fresh new ideas instead of having some some of the dinosaurs really who've done a great job, by the way, to put the FA in a position where they're in. But for me, I think there's a fresh new approach which could be had here by somebody. If that's the rumours which are flying around, there was a lady who's been head of the women's game, which is a viable option for me. Emil Heskey's name's been flung right into the mix,
Ferdinand.
which is a great idea. I know Troy Townsend's name, father of Andros, has been thrown in as well. And listen, all these people who come in, they'll come in with an agenda. They'll come in with their fresh ideas, and hopefully it's gonna benefit British football.
Yeah. Do you know the other thing, mate, as well is, as I mentioned, like he was they're clearly his views, because if he's comfortable enough to say them in that setting, then I hate to think what he's saying in private. And he's got media training. He will have had mental health training. He will have had diversity training as part of his job.
I mean, for me, it was just an absolute stupidity by a man who should have known better. You know, some of the comments were outrageous. Well, all of the comments were outrageous. To do it on a stage like that is just, it's unacceptable. And he's lost two really good jobs. He's lost two good jobs. Well, yeah, but we're in 2020 now, and I'd like to think that for those gay footballers out there, there's support for people. There's a support for everybody, you know. And I think don't listen to certain people who like him. You know what I mean? He's made a mistake. He's come out an apology, but for me, apologies mean nothing. You know what I mean? Actions speak louder than words sometimes. And he's
people
resigned.
like him, mate. They're the ones who are in charge of creating the things like the Kick It Out campaign and diversity campaigns and stopping fans from using homophobic chants, you know, in football grounds and things like that. He's promoting those campaigns, and if you've got a group of people like him who are at the top, and I don't want to lump all of the people at the top, you know, at the same, because they're clearly not. But you need fresh ideas. You need a bit of diversity in there, and it needs to change. You go and look at the PFA website, mate, and you look at the executive staff on there, and there is some phenomenal names. Some people who can really implement proper change with creative and fresh ideas.
I think this is going to be good though, Si, because it's gonna there's some good's going to come out of the bad, and I think I
just hope they don't trot out another.
I don't think they will. And I think for me, the less airtime someone like that's being given, because for me, he didn't need to apologise, because he'd already made the mistake. Resign would have been enough for me, and just forget about him, because he's gone now and hopefully won't be involved in football again.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Let's move on from him. The EPL has agreed, supposedly, a deal with the EFL to help out, because apparently the BBC reports that there's at least 10 EFL clubs who are struggling to pay their wages.
League One and League Two, apparently.
Very worrying. But the Championship refused it, didn't they, at first? Oh, no, sorry. The EFL, League One and League Two refused it because they didn't include the Championship in it. Is that right?
Yeah, the EFL originally had a £50 million offer from the English Premier League to help out football clubs and be that bucket, so to speak, for clubs to dip into and help when they financially need it. And so they refused it in October, and then all of a sudden things have obviously got no better. Things have gotten 10 times worse within the football terms. They're not making any money. So for me, I think it smells of desperation that the deal's exactly the same. You know what I mean? I think that'll be my point. And it just shows sometimes how the EFL sometimes just look from an outsider looking in, that they've not really got the foggiest idea what they're doing and clue what they're doing. And you know what I mean? If they'd have accepted this deal back in October, then potentially there's another month where clubs wouldn't have got themselves into even more debt or even more trouble, and potentially worse, and fold, because football clubs are the most important thing. You know what I mean? Fans are the most important thing, but they're not here. So how are clubs generating money? They're not generating nothing. You know what I mean? There's absolutely zero input coming in from outsiders. You know, even sponsors are holding out on paying because they don't know what's going on, and teams are giving clubs the money back from season tickets. So where are they generating money from? They're not. You know what I mean? Because the games aren't live on TV on Sky, so they're not making money apart from the Premier League. The Championship and the EFL are really struggling, and I really fear for them. And for me, they're the most important teams because we need to keep all 92 of them above the water. And at the minute, I do fear for some of them because a loan is only going to break them even. But then they've still got next month's wages, which are going to get them in trouble again. You know, money's never going to go away. They need people back in.
It's not a long-term solution, is it?
No. But it's great. It's great, by the way. But it's a fantastic idea because.
Well, we don't want any clubs to go now, do we?
Yeah. If that didn't happen, Si, I think we would have had clubs going under, and quite a lot, maybe 2, 3, or 4 overnight. Because I am hearing some vicious rumours that some clubs are really struggling.
Yeah. So then I would imagine it's probably more than 10. I got told there's some big clubs as well, not not necessarily like when you hear there's 10 clubs struggling to pay wages, you assume maybe some of the smaller clubs in League 1 and 2. 2 of the clubs which I got told earlier this morning were been in the Premier League in the last 15 years. So it's something that needs to be dealt with. Hopefully these quick COVID tests will make a difference, because I was reading something earlier that they might have these quick COVID tests that can be done, and then you've got the chemical shower things that fans can do the quick COVID test, then go through the disinfectant shower and go into the stadium. And hopefully, even if it's not a full capacity, we can get some fans in there.
Yeah.
But Rob Boyle's the best person. He says, why isn't there any League 1 or League 2 games on Sky this season?
There's one on tonight, I think. It's Bolton Wanderers against Salford City. So that's a League 2 game, I believe. But for me, it's money, because they're not interested to air these games. And you know what I mean? It's about money as well. So why would Sky want to give money to League 1 and League 2 sides if they're paying that much to Premier League sides? It's all about money. It's all about finances. You know what I mean? The playoff games are on, of course they are, because they generate a lot of interest. And obviously some of them are going into the Premier League and some of them are going to League 1, some of them in the Championship, etc. And it becomes very interesting. But for me, just filter it down and filter enough games, because I'm hoping it'll be a decent game tonight. I really am, because Salford City, you know what I mean? I'm intrigued to see. You know, I'll be watching it. Bolton Wanderers are one of my old clubs anyway, so I've got an affiliation with them, and love playing. I used to love playing at the Reebok, great stadium, but going through a really tough time at the minute. So hopefully it can generate a little bit of interest in League 2, because they all need it.
Yeah, I left that comment on there. Reese has just said there, he said it would have been beneficial to agree a new TV deal, one where they can have free to air on BBC, etc., to get that extra money. But from what he's read, they've signed an exclusive deal to Sky. So, I mean, what would have been nice is, obviously Sky have made billions over the years from Premier League and Championship and all these different Champions League, all the different football games. I know it's a business and it's not a charity. But what would have been nice is to see someone like Sky and BT and BBC and ITV or Quest all come together and say, right, we're going to put together a package which League 1 and 2, we're going to pay X amount TV money to show the games live for the rest of this season, or until the fans are allowed back in the stadiums. I think that would have been a really good thing to help clubs stay afloat. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah, I just think clubs in certain areas, I could, especially the Premier League clubs. You know about Manchester, looking around the Cheshire area. Some of the London clubs looking after the London clubs. Newcastle maybe supporting some of the North East and Northern clubs, and Leeds support Liverpool. Listen, there's enough teams to help each other out, and I just think sometimes it's about being a football family. That's what we talk about. We talk about the football family, but sometimes that football family doesn't always rear its head when you need it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some of these bigger clubs, even the Premier League clubs, are struggling financially a bit more than perhaps we all realise. I don't know. But I agree with you. It would have been nice to see these big clubs supporting the teams. They won't
be making the money what they used to make this year.
Of course not.
You know what I mean? So,
but they're also propped up with massive Adidas deals and Chevrolet deals and Lord knows what else. Right. Let's get into the Championship football. Very briefly, we'll talk Cardiff Bristol, but it's going to be only a couple of minutes because we obviously did a massive analysis last week as the game went on. We did the first half, then we did the second half. Worrying times for Cardiff, mate, do you think?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm just concerned of which direction they're supposed to be going in. I was questioning the appointment of Neil Harris, like a lot of other people were. I thought I saw it as a sideward step. I was proved wrong. Getting the playoffs, they really surprised me with some attacking football towards the end of the season. I was really excited, and then this season they've gone backwards, and I'm unsure why they've gone backwards because yes, they've changed a couple of personnel, but I don't think for the worse in a certain way. You brought Harry Wilson in. Ojo in, who's a very talented player. You've still got the defenders. You've still got the same back four, back five, goalkeeper, midfielder. So the nucleus of the side squad is the same. You brought in a brand new centre forward. So for me, I don't think it's an excuse. The personnel who's been brought in. I'm just concerned of continuation of formation. That's a worry for me. Chopping and changing, not being consistent with team selection, and for me, I did I see the result coming? I think I did, because Bristol City will have been well up for it. Cardiff probably rely a little bit in games like this with supporters. So we're talking about supporters again, but it plays a huge role. I played in front of the Cardiff City fans, and I know how hostile it can be for you and against you for the other team. So it's really important for Cardiff to get those fans back. But then you could look at it end of the season. Last season didn't have supporters, and look how well they did. So difficult one. But I think the manager's going to be under severe pressure. I think this break now for international break has not done him any good at all. He'll want to go get straight away and get another game in, because obviously some of the players have gone in national duty. He'll be able to work on certain things, but you can't work on everything when you haven't got all of your players there. So it's a difficult one.
Yeah, Garen said there, he said lack of investment for him. I agree with that. I do think the lack of investment has hurt him. However, I will say, when you look on paper, so you've got Harry Wilson instead of Mendes Lang, I'd argue that he's more consistent than Mendes Lang, same as Ojo.
Better player.
Probably a better player as well on his day. Like you mentioned, the nucleus of the side is pretty much the same. You've got Kiefer Moore as a Welsh international up front with, obviously, still got Glatzel. So on paper, they haven't necessarily got worse. I think tactically they've got worse. I think they've been very negative this year, other than one game. That is what concerns me.
I think that's the word, sign.
They needed to spend some money, mate, in the summer. That's a fact, and they didn't. We said that in the summer. We said that before the summer, in the summer, and after the summer. How long have Cardiff City needed a right back for? It's worrying, mate. But
yeah, it is. I agree, and you can't continue to put square pegs in round holes, and you can't play people out of position. You know that as a player you're frustrated, as a supporter you're frustrated. But the only person who seems he's not frustrated about doing a decision like that is the manager, because he's the one picking the team. Because you must have a young player who's desperate to play, who's good enough to play right back.
Absolutely, mate. I 100% agree. Very quickly then, Ryan's just asked the question, which I'm going to put to you in a second. But ultimately, do you think Neil Harris makes it through the Christmas period?
With results like this, no. The Christmas period.
Do you think Cardiff have already looked elsewhere, spoken to other managers?
I would like to think no, but I think football, we're in 2020 now. I think with the amount of managers who are out of a job, I think everything's done that quickly that if a manager does resign, for example, because that could happen as well, by the way, I know it probably won't, but managers do resign as well, that clubs need to have this plan B of having somebody already there to take over. So, I'm sure there'll be a plan in place if anything does happen in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, so because I think clubs are run as a business, and that's a business decision, and that's a business plan. So do I think someone will have been spoke to? Yes, I do. Will it be?
Does anyone spring to mind when if it was your decision and he was gone tomorrow, and you could pick generally from anyone within reason, is there someone which you think would make like a good fit?
I'd go fresh. I'd go really fresh. I'd go Lee Boyer, or I'd go Craig Bellamy.
Yeah, with a director of football.
Straight away, I just think it would tick all the boxes. Supporters would be excited, but that's just hindsight, and reality is a different thing. And for me, he's under pressure. You know what I mean? He doesn't need all these international breaks because it's giving Kiefer Moore the opportunity to get injured. Last time in international games, by the way, came back with an injury because he got injured against England. You know, and he still played international games. It's going to be a difficult one if something does happen on the international duty. So I'm hoping everybody comes back unscathed. I'm hoping that Cardiff City can be nice and positive and go into the next 3, 4, 5 games and try and pick as many wins up as they can, because draws aren't enough, Si, in this league. No. We all know they're not enough.
Cowley brothers.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know. I'm surprised that they haven't applied for the Sheffield Wednesday job, for example. Sheffield Wednesday job hasn't been. They haven't.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So just a couple of questions from people about this, and then we'll move on, because I don't want to spend too much time on Cardiff because we talked about it so much last week, and it is a championship show, not a Cardiff show, much to my disappointment, he says. Ryan Davis says, how do we get Harry Wilson into the game and on the ball more? Stop playing long ball.
Yeah, he's got to play clever himself. He's got to get into the areas in the front third. He's got to play in between the lines, in between the midfield and the defence. He's got to be versatile. He's got to go out wide and come in and play off from the width. He's got to be clever. You know what I mean? The three behind the one have got to be interchangeable sign. They've got to be like the Red Arrows, and they've got to be playing. They can't be playing left, right, and centre because that's just so predictable. And I think that's the problem at the minute. You know, where for me, if Harry Wilson and Lee Tomlin were playing together, it'd be ideal because Lee will be on the left, Harry will be on the right. Then all of a sudden they're switched over. All of a sudden they're both behind the one. All of a sudden one's in the middle, one's out wide, and it works. It works when you don't know where the other person's going to be, because at the minute you've just got 3 statues, centre, right, and left, and they're easily marked. And then you've got somebody up front on his own who's isolated. It's not working. And sometimes for me, it's just one dimensional. Where for me, two up front, it creates havoc. It causes problems for defence. And we've shown that in the games that, in the one game, that you played it.
I agree that Cardiff need a change of formation. They need 2 up front, and I agree with a lot of what you said there, mate. One thing which I will never be able to get my head around is how negative we've been all season, and then we play well at one game and played it's Luton. Was it Luton? Whoever it was the other week, we won 3-0, played them off the park.
Barnsley.
Barnsley, sorry, mate. 2 up front, outstanding. And then straight away we're back to the negativity, and I'd never understand that. So Gaz says here, Cardiff City should play 3-5-2. I agree with that, because I think that formation would suit the players they've got. So very quickly, you could have Bennett and someone else as your wing backs. You've got the Morrison. My mind's gone blank. We've got 3 centre backs. Then you can have your 2 strikers. You can have Tomlin and Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson can play up top. Harry Wilson can play wide. I think that formation can be really interchangeable going forward and coming back. I think Joe Rawls would be really good in the centre of that formation as well. It was something I was thinking about the other day. So a couple of comments. Reese says, Ollie, Slade, Trollope, Harris. The only decent one was Warnock. I don't trust this board to sign another manager. My one thing to that is they did try and get Lee Bowyer, and for whatever reason, it didn't quite get it over the line. You know, I don't know. It's difficult to say, isn't it? Like, Slade was there to get the wage bill down, wasn't he, at the end of the day? I don't like that, because I can refer back to Middlesbrough, and Tony Mowbray was brought in to steady the ship, did a great job, and then loses his job because he's then still judged on results. But hang on a minute, he's got rid of all Gordon Strachan's players that he brought in. He's made a lot of money for the club, steadied the ship, and then somebody else takes over and does a good job. And I find that disrespectful sometimes. I'm not saying he was a great manager. I'm not saying his ideas were good, but he had such a hard job to do. Yeah, I slated him regularly because I didn't like the reasons he was brought in. I thought he was a bit of a yes man. However, that's not his fault. He was brought in to do a job, and he did that job to a certain extent. He got the wage bill down and steadied the ship, if you like. Darren says, long before COVID raised its ugly head, Mehmet Dalman said there was no money available for players. And I think ultimately that's what it comes down to. Cardiff don't have the money to spend. as do a lot of other clubs. Okay, we're going to move on. So where should we start? Top or bottom, mate? In terms of the way I'm looking at this list of fixtures.
Well, I don't know what fixtures you're looking at, so I'll go top if it's the same as I've got.
Well, fingers crossed for you. Otherwise, you're going to have to scramble. Reading 0
versus Stoke. Yeah, same one. Listen. I'm not sure what's going on at Reading. I'm concerned for them in a big way. Yeah. But at the same time, we're on about teams that they're playing. Stoke City, free scoring at the minute. They look like they're going to score every time they get the ball going forward. James McLean playing really well. You've got Campbell on the right. You've got Fletcher up front. You've got Powell. You've got the substitute come on, Brown, having a great time since his move from Barnsley. Tom Ince doesn't get much game time. You've still got Sam Vaughn, still doesn't get much game time. So I think sometimes we give teams like Stoke a little bit of a disservice. Yes, it was a really bad result for Reading, but at the same time, it's happened twice in 2 weeks now for Reading that they're getting beat 2-0. And I don't know why, but they keep going gung-ho, and all of a sudden they get caught in the last minute for the third. And 3-0 looks far worse than it should do. And it happened against Preston, and it's happened again last weekend. So I think they've got to sort that out, because you're getting beat 2-0. Do you go gung-ho and make things 10 times worse, which they've done twice? Or do you just accept a defeat sometimes and just move on to the next game and just take it on the chin? Because confidence-wise, goalkeeper defensively, 3-0, it's a hell of a lot worse than 2.
Yeah, spot on. I'm going to talk a bit more about Angus Gunn, because I think he's turned into a really good goalkeeper. Yeah. And
am I wrong in thinking he's Brian's son?
Yeah, no, he is Brian's son. Yeah, but I thought he was very good at an important time for them.
And Gammons just made a call there, by the way, about
Joe Allen.
Joe Allen. You've got Joe Allen. You've got Ryan Shawcross. Also,
two massive players.
You've got James Chester, no Sam Clucas. You know what I mean? So I'm 4 players who could play in the Premier League.
Chester, Joe Allen, and Shawcross, in my opinion, in their set positions, are probably the best players in the Championship when fully fit. I think those two are probably the best two centre-backs in the Championship. And I think Joe Allen's the best holding midfielder. Maybe Joe Allen's coming towards the end of his kind of age-wise. But when fully fit, they are right up there. So to be missing those 3 players and still be trotting out these performances.
Doesn't this worry you, though, Si, that they will come back, and they will come back after Christmas when the football's busy and they need the squad, and that will make them even stronger. And they're having a really good time at the minute.
Rushing back today.
Not with the squad they've got signed. They're in a really healthy position. Eighth place, 2 points out, or 1 point outside the playoffs, 4 points off the top. You know, I mean, they're in a really strong position as well.
Haven't they got another keeper? Haven't they as well? Who's out, I think. But Nick Powell, mate, is very good. Johnny,
you got Jack Bulland. Jack's still there, isn't he?
Yeah,
Jack's still there.
Former England international, mate.
Yeah, how can you forget that?
Not in the squad.
How can you forget that? He was in our downs every week.
We slammed him last year. John Obi Mikel, mate, very, very good. He really looks like he's settling in now, doesn't he?
So I knew it was going to happen, because Middlesbrough got him in the Championship 2 seasons ago, and he was Rolls Royce. He got on the ball. He made things look easy. He looked like he's strolling through the games. Not in a bad way, by the way. I mean that he just made the football look easy. He broke things up. He got on the ball. He never gave the ball away. He broke. He had everything, and just shows how sometimes the gulf in the Premier League and the Championship, people can make football look very easy, unfortunately, because he was one of them, and it makes you feel sick a little bit when people do that, but he is that good, and he's pushing them onto another level, because let's make no bones about it. Stoke haven't drastically made that many changes.
No,
but they were horrific. They were horrific last year, by the way. They were horrific. Stoke, horrific. Yeah. So
I thought they were going to go down. If you remember, at one point, I thought they were going to really struggle, but on paper they are phenomenal and daunting, mate. And I really do think that if they keep going, they could be, like over the years, you've had teams that have run away with it. They have the ability to run away with it, but I'm not sure they have the consistency to run away with it yet.
Well, Garen's just asked a question there about could it disrupt rhythm of the side if people come in if they're fit? Yeah, I think my point is that I wouldn't throw them in.
No.
I'd have them on the
Ease 'em.
bench, and I'd have them pushing the players, which will push those players to another level. By the way, because if I see Joe Allen warming up and I'm a midfielder, I'm thinking I need to go another 10%, because if I don't, I'm coming off. You know what I mean? So I know exactly that I've got somebody breathing down my neck, because if I'm not performing and playing well, he's going to take my place because he's far superior than me. He's better than me. I understand that. But at the minute, I've got his shirt, and it's my shirt to lose unless we start losing games. And at the minute, I don't see them losing many games.
No, it'll be interesting where they go. Next up, Birmingham City 1, Bournemouth 3. Welshman David Brooks on fire.
Yeah,
mate.
I think I was shocked. I was shocked with the amount of goals. I was shocked with the amount of goals that Birmingham shipped early in the first half. That David Brooks scored 2 on his return, which is fantastic. Great for him, because I'm a big fan. I loved him at Sheffield United, so I loved him playing for Wales. I loved him in the Premier League. I just hope he can get a run of games, get himself fit, and just enjoying his football again, and hopefully get back in the Premier League. If that's with Bournemouth, great. If it's not, then be with somebody else, because he's an exciting wing. He's electric. He's got everything for me, and he's going to push Bournemouth all the way because he's a Premier League footballer. They've got a squad full of them. Birmingham got back in the game just before the hour mark through Hogan, who's, you know what I mean, he's going to score goals at this level. He's done it since he left Villa. But I was quite surprised, really, because Birmingham don't let a lot of goals in, and Bournemouth don't seem to tend to score a lot as well. So it'll be it's a fantastic result for them. But then again, the international breaks come at a horrific time for Bournemouth, because they wanted to go on to the next level and play.
Yeah, a couple of players who I think are really important for Bournemouth, but don't always get the credit which maybe they deserve, is Meepham. Back in defence, and also the number 10, Groenenveld. I've been very impressed with him this season, and I think they don't always get the credit. Maybe it goes to people like Solanke or to Brooks or to Stanislas, but those two in particular, I think, are very good. And of course, Begovic in goal is a kind of really solid foundation, isn't he?
Yeah, I think spine the team for me, Si. You know what I mean? You've got Lewis Cook in the midfield with Lemmer, and for me, they're Premier League players, you know. So if you've got your spine, your team strong, and you've got a couple of live wires out wide in Stanislas and Brooks, and Solanke's always going to play, and you give him a chance, he'll score goals.
Yeah, next up, Blackburn back to form and winning ways, beating QPR, who just cannot decide if they're going to go on a good run or a bad run. And what did you make of this one?
I fully expected him to turn around 1 week, and if I was going to pick a week, it probably would be this week against QPR. It was so unpredictable. It's quite scary that they go and beat Cardiff, they go and beat Derby away, and then they play Blackburn Rovers, who are in terrible form, and then they get turned over, and 1-1 for long periods, and then the Blackburn's main man Armstrong comes up with 2 goals, and
12 and 12 he scored.
Yeah, that's, you know what, if he continues this form, he's not going to be there in January, because teams will always take a risk on a goal scorer, and since he left Newcastle, he's been able to score goals, regular goals, and I hope they can keep him, because they can't afford to lose the best player.
See at least the season out. To be honest, correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Wasn't Adam Armstrong initially a winger?
He's. I don't know if you've seen him play much, but he's pretty small, and he's had a lot of loan moves from his time at Newcastle. He went on loan at Coventry when they were in. I think they were in League 2 at the time. He scored a couple of goals. He went to Barnsley in League 1. He went to Bolton, I think, when they were in League 1 when they got relegated, and then he went on loan to Blackburn. But he's played a variation of wide. You know what I mean? I think he can play in the 3, which he played last year, by the way. He played behind Danny Graham. So most of last year, he played behind Danny Graham, and then this year, he's playing as a main man, he's scoring goals. But this reminds me so much of Ollie Watkins, that Ollie Watkins was a midfielder stroke wide man, and then all of a sudden he went up front for whatever, default or manager's decision or his decision, and then all of a sudden he's scoring goals in the Premier League. So this just smells of that kind of environment, that kind of decision. So whoever's decision it was is a masterstroke, because they're getting the rewards, because he's a natural goal scorer given the chances.
Yeah, and Blackburn on paper, mate. I was very surprised to see him have a bad run because they look so good on paper, and they looked so good last season in bits. And when they strengthened, I thought they were going to really crack on this year. But maybe this is the start. QPR, a good. I don't know what's going on with them.
No.
1 week they look very good. The next week they look like a Parks team. It's frightening, mate. It really is.
And Si, listen, I think we spoke over a year ago about being a QPR fan and the highs, many lows, and the goals he used to let in. I spoke 2 years ago. I watched QPR, and they were the worst team I've ever seen at the Riverside, and then I watched them against Cardiff a couple of weeks ago, and they're just a different side. Yes, they brought different players and they got different manager, but they just look like a different side. They look like they could score every time they got the ball, but then at the other side, they look like they're gonna give a goal away as well, which must be the best and the worst feeling in the world being a fan.
Crazy, mate, isn't it? Gaz there says best footy shows in the UK. Pass it on.
I agree.
I can't echo that enough. Pass it on. Kelly says apparently Cardiff City wouldn't pay $2 million for Ollie Watkins when Neil Warnock asked Vincent Tan and Mehmet Dalman if they could sign him. That is worrying.
The only thing I'll say to that is whoops. That is, if that's true, that
Christ.
is.
Can you imagine?
That's a huge regret.
That is. Oh, I just can't. Next up, Brentford and Middlesbrough.
Listen, when I saw Middlesbrough's team, I knew it wasn't going to be a classic. When I seen the formation, I know I harp on about I want 2 men up front, but when Middlesbrough got to Brentford, I knew exactly what he was looking for. He went there to draw 0-0. He went there to hopefully nick a goal off a set piece or something, and he got exactly what he went there for, and I can't fault him. He's just got this championship off to an art. He plays the fiddle, he plays the flute, and the players of this league, for whichever team he's at, Neil Warnock just gets players to do exactly what he wants. And 4 games, 4 clean sheets, and for a Middlesbrough fan to say that is just unbelievable, because I can't remember the last time that Middlesbrough kept clean sheets, but for 4 on the bounce, it's absolutely crazy. And I know I'll keep going on about it. We've got an international break now, and this is a nightmare for teams who were doing well. And Middlesbrough are no different, because you've got players, you've got the 2 lads who've been away to Ireland. They're going to come back a little bit disappointed because they've just had a real low. Yes, they might pick up this week and have a couple of games or a game and get some positives out of it. But I just hope for my hometown club that they can carry on this form, because it's a huge opportunity for them this season with a manager who just knows the league inside out.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Really interesting question and response to the Ollie Watkins thing there. I just wanted to quickly run this by you, and then I'm going to tell you what I think of Middlesbrough. Because, Middlesbrough, I think if they get a goal scorer in January, they are setting them. Warnock is setting them up to be very, very solid and good. And I think they can really push on in the next year or two.
They won't buy anybody, I don't think. I think they'll be happy with what they've got.
Yeah, so in response to the Ollie Watkins could have signed for Cardiff for $2 million thing, Reece David Evans on YouTube says, really, ? Ollie Watkins would have struggled in Warnock's style of football, and then we'd be bemoaning $2 million wasted.
It depends timing, because if Neil Warnock was signing Ollie Watkins as a winger, then we wouldn't have got what Brentford got last season. You know what I mean? So it's time wise. We look at Ollie Watkins now as this £32 million centre forward who's scoring all these goals in the Championship. He's now scoring goals in the Premier League for Villa. If he was a winger and playing in midfield at the time, and Neil Warnock was going to play him there, then it's a different decision. Would he have played centre forward for Cardiff? Probably not at the time. So with the players that he had,
with Tomlin behind him though, then
he had the way that Neil played. He had Zaha playing up front. He had Callum Patterson playing up front. So Neil had the target man, not the runners. Yeah.
And also, Kay Childs asks, Andy, would Hamilton Rickard have battered the Championship in his day?
Listen, if anybody remembers Hamilton was my hero. Hamilton was one of my best mates in football. Hamilton came over from Colombia, didn't speak a word of English. I think I taught him his first 10 words, and as you can imagine, I didn't teach him the best words. I taught him the words which I wanted to hear him say in his accent, so it was great. I loved it. Hamilton turned up at my house, or my mum and dad's house, while I was sat in my bedroom when I was a 17-year-old boy. He was downstairs having a can of lager with my dad, and seeing if I'd just go out with him for the night. You know what I mean? He was the nicest man ever, but he was just he was a bit of a loose cannon. Let's just say that he was a bit of a loose cannon. I remember him. He had the best game, but the worst game at the same time. We played Sheffield United in the Championship at Bramall Lane. I was injured, so I stayed at home and watched it on TV. And Hamilton bullied Chris Morgan, bullied the centre halves, Phil Jagielka, bullied everybody. He had about 7 or 8 one-on-ones. He didn't hit the target for any of them. He put the ball over the bar. He just couldn't hit a barn door at all that evening. But I tell you what, it was the best performance I've seen. I've seen him absolutely abuse Sol Campbell. You know what I mean? Yap Stam. This player he's an animal. Hamilton was an absolute animal. But you get him off the pitch, he was just an absolute legend and a hero. But yeah, he's a great lad. Really, I loved him. I can't wait. This game goes ahead in May or whatever at Middlesbrough for this for charity to raise money for the area. If he's there, I'm going to be starstruck. Take the autograph book.
No, I remember him absolutely destroying United on one appearance. He just ran Yapstam ragged.
Yeah, he loved it.
Okay, just before we move on to the next game, just a quick little plug for our sponsors of the show and a quick word from our sponsors, indeed.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, Bespoke Financial, as we mentioned earlier, they specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover. So contact them for all your insurance needs. Tell them that we sent you. And of course, we thank them for sponsoring the show. And let's move on to our next game, mates. I do think, by the way, that was a very good result for Middlesbrough because
listen, there's not many.
Last year they'd have lost that comfortably.
There's not many teams, Si, who stopped Brentford this season and stopped one man in particular not scoring a goal for Brentford. You know that they've got in Ivan Toney, they've got the best centre forward apart from Armstrong, who's scoring the most goals. So you know, to stop him is no mean feat. You know, they did really well.
Absolutely. And talking of teams which are up and down, you've got Barnsley, and then you've got a team which is looking down in Derby County. Barnsley won 2-0. Koku's going to be gone soon, mate, isn't he?
I don't know why he's still there. I don't know why they're not making this decision now. You know what I mean? For me, Si, what they're waiting for. Are they waiting for 5 more results? Are they waiting for 10 more results? Listen, what's going on there is an absolute travesty. They need a fresh idea for me. They need fresh approaches. You're playing at home at Barnsley, who don't travel well. Connor Taplin scored a very good goal. I thought they were the best side. Listen, when you play at home, Si, it's all well and good dominating possession, which is absolutely fantastic. But if you dominate possession, what comes with possession is creating chances. Derby had 71% of the possession, and they had 9 shots on goal. Right? Sounds a lot. Barnsley had 29% of the possession, but they had 17 shots on goal. It's not working. So the style of play is not working. His formation is not working. You know what I mean? When did Derby last year, Si? You know what I mean? We raved about him. Tom Huddleston and Wayne Rooney midfield, dominating the midfield, got him going. He's put Wayne Rooney up front this year, and it's not working. You know what I mean? He hasn't got the pace anymore to run in and behind. You know what I mean? Yes, he can hold the ball up, and he's got Waghorn, and he's got Lawrence either side. But for me, last year it worked better. Chris Martin, how you can let Chris Martin leave on a free and go to a rival team in Bristol City is Derby fans must be boiling, because that for me is the worst decision a business could do, because you lose a very good footballer, one of the best the Championship's got, in my opinion. You know what I mean? He's played there all his career. and that would have allowed Wayne Rooney to go back in a position that he's happy and comfortable with and can get everything going. And yeah, I don't get it. And Barnsley is winning game side now. They won at the weekend without Corley Woodrow scoring goals, which it must be pleasing because they're heavily relying on him too much. But Connor Chaplin is a good player. Obviously, the second goal was an own goal, I believe. Was it an own goal? No, it wasn't. It was a substitute. It was one of the substitutes. Yeah, it was one of the substitutes. Yeah, so it's going to be a huge week this week for Derby and for the owners, for the chairman, CEOs to decide which is the best route for them to go.
Yeah, Barnsley, I think, have reacted well because they were in form and then they had a couple of bad results. They've reacted really well. Derby have got to do something quick because they are looking in trouble. Wayne Rooney's legs as a striker had gone when he was playing for United. And that's why they started playing him in midfield because he's still got a lot to offer, particularly in the Championship.
Listen,
not as a striker.
He went to the MLS for a reason. He went to the MLS because it was more laid back. The football wasn't as competitive. He got more time on the ball. And then he's come to the Championship, which is more hustle and bustle, busy, loads going on. And he coped really well in his first season. I thought he did fantastic. But he's now playing in a different position, which the centre-halves in the Championship are horrible. They're big, strong, physical. They won't give you any much change. And he's not getting many rewards. And the goals he is scoring, are free kicks or really good goals. They're not centre-forward goals.
In the box, like stroking it in. Little comment there. Reece says Mel Morris is in talks to sell the club and doesn't want to pay the rumoured $4 million to sack Philip Koku. Look, it'd be even worse if they get relegated. If they keep him for another 10 games because they don't want to spend the money to sack him, he loses 8 of them, and they're, X points adrift. And they end up getting relegated. That could be disastrous. You only have to look and people will say, "Oh, Derby too good to go down. They're too big." Look at some of the clubs in League One, mate. Sunderland, Portsmouth, all these clubs which have ended up going right down because they haven't made the right decisions at the right time. I think he's got to go, mate. I really do. Huddersfield Town versus Luton Town.
Listen. I don't understand it. I don't understand why you hold people back. Why teams hold chairmen and people holding clubs to ransom in a way. You know what I mean? If you want to sack him, you sack him. You know what I mean? It's that simple because you're doing it for the good of the club. You're doing it to push the club forward. You know what I mean? You give that manager that contract at the start of the season, so you knew exactly what you were doing at that time. You know what I mean? I'm not a big fan of giving managers 2, 3, 4 years. You know what I mean? I like this 12-month rolling contract. So he's manager at your football club forever until the day he doesn't do well. But then you've got to pay him for 12 months, which I think is fair. I think it's a fair deal, unless he gets a job in the meantime. So if he gets a job in the meantime, you can keep paying him for 12 months because it won't be a big hit on your club in much of a way. You know what I mean? Days have gone where you pay a manager 3 full years of his contract because he's been sacked. That's just unfair. It doesn't happen anymore. You know what I mean? For me, you've got to listen. If Derby County sacked him and then went bankrupt, that's not fair, is it? So why should anybody expect it?
Yeah, I just think they've got to make a decision quickly. Next up, we had Huddersfield Town 1, Luton Town 1, mate.
I think fair results side for me. I've been really impressed with Luton. I think they're travelling really well. George Munker in the midfield, I thought was really good. He got himself a good goal driving from midfield. Really strong first half. Obviously, Huddersfield are always going to have chances this side. The Championship's full of chances, So if you can limit teams to enough chances to try and win the game, you've got a chance. But I think a fair result for both teams. I think both teams will be quite happy and content how the season started. Luton in 10th, Huddersfield in 13th. You know what I mean? They both had a really strong really strong start. For me, Luton don't score enough goals. You know what I mean? They've scored 9 goals in 11. They've let in 11 goals, which is a goal a game. It's just not enough. You know what I mean? In order for me, they scored more goals last year, but maybe his teams are working Luton out, and Collins in particular. He's going to have to maybe work a little bit harder in the box to get some chances, to get more chances in order to score more goals because he's a very good centre forward.
He is, yeah. I also there's a couple of players I really like in that Luton team. Mpanza, Moncur, Collins. Even there's a boy. He's not a boy anymore. Tunnicliffe, who he started his career at United, I believe. Really good players, and they all seem to be pulling in the same direction, mate. Which I think ultimately is vital, isn't it?
Yeah, No, listen, team morale goes a hell of a long way. You know, I'm not Luton Town aren't stupid. You know what I mean? That we have Graham Jones on who he said, you know what I mean? It's difficult to have a big budget and to spend loads of money. So you've got to generate something from within, and they've done that for the last 2 or 3 seasons, getting promoted and promoted. So for me, it's a great club. It's even better with supporters in, by the way, because Kenilworth Road's one of them grounds which it was electric when it's full. Really enjoy playing there.
One of the few proper football grounds left, mate. Norwich City beat Swansea City 1-0. Stepperman is on fire.
Yeah, listen, I always thought the longer this game was going, there was going to be a goal. And I always knew Norwich City were going to score because Norwich have scored so many late goals this season. They scored a late one against Swansea, obviously. They scored a late one against Wycombe Wanderers to win the game. They scored a late one against Birmingham City to win the game. A late one to win it at Rotherham. All these add up. I've just named 4 off the top of my head. That's 8 points. You know what I mean? And you take 8 points off Norwich City, and they would have 21. They'd have 13 points. You know, they've got 21. Yeah. That's the reason why they're there. You know what I mean? If that's fitness levels, if that's the manager driving them on, if that's the players driving them on, whoever's doing it. If teams are sitting back against them, somebody needs to learn, because if Norwich, nobody is going to stop Norwich City by just by sitting back, because by the start that they've done, they're relentless, because they're not scoring a ton amount of goals as well. By the way, they're just scoring late goals, which are winning the game by 1-0.
It's those late goals, though, mate. They make the difference at the end of the year. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
There's 8 points. 8 points is a big toll. You know what I mean? And that's now. You know what I mean? We could be talking 21 points by the end of the season.
Yeah, that's in late goals.
Yeah.
Incredible, mate, isn't it, when you think of it? Incredible how much they've done it already this season. Swansea will be annoyed, I think, by that result.
Yeah,
after a good run. But
disappointed.
And equally, you know, Norwich, when you look at the fixtures at the start of the season, that's always going to be one of the most difficult games of the season. I think from Swansea's point of view, it's important that they get back to winning ways, you know, as quick as possible.
You can't win every game. You know, I mean, they'll 84 minutes, they'll have probably accepted a draw, and a draw would have been a great result. We could be sat here saying Swansea are on a great run. But, you know what I mean, a 1-0 defeat, they take it on the chin. They've had some really tough games, Swansea, over the last probably month. They beat Stoke City, they beat Blackburn, they drew with Brentford, lost to Norwich. So they've had a tough month. So they've probably come out of it better than I thought they would have. Yeah,
I think so. Next up, Forest 2, Wycombe 0. Mr. Taylor finding his feet.
Yeah, he is. He's obviously scored the late penalty, didn't he, the week before against Coventry City, which is obviously brimmed him full of confidence. He's starting games, and we always say, well, you know what I mean, I'm a big advocate of it, that how can he score goals if he's sat on his backside on the bench? You know what I mean? And Lyle Taylor's no exception to that. He's a goal scorer. But goal scorers need to be on the pitch. If that's the first minute or the last minute, and he is a pure goal scorer, by the way. Disappointing for Wycombe. Obviously, their mini run of two wins comes to an end, but Nottingham Forest, I think they'll pick up because the new manager, he's just going to take his time in picking the right fit and getting the right formations and playing the right people. But obviously, you look at last season's star side of Forest, Joe Lolly, not really started many games since under the new manager, hasn't get the ground running yet. You've got Lewis Grabbing out injured. Obviously, you lost Cash, Harry Arter on the bench, Carl Jenkinson on the bench. You know, you've got some very good players still to impress the new manager and force his way in the side. And when they do, I think they'll shoot up the league quite quickly.
Yeah, I think so. They got a good squad. One thing I will say is, if this manager doesn't fancy Joe Lolly, there'll be plenty of clubs in the Championship who will have take him on loan or take him.
Yeah, I think there'll be Premier League teams who take a risk. Yeah,
100%, mate. Cardiff City, have a look at him, mate. To be honest, they could do with someone consistent, because he is a very consistent player, isn't he?
Yeah.
But Wycombe, look, they've had a good couple of weeks. It's come to an end. It's just important for them to get back on that horse as soon as possible.
Yeah,
keep that momentum going. Forest, the new manager trick has done it in terms of, you always get a boost, but it's important that when that initial boost wears off, that they keep playing to the way they should be, because very, very good for team. Rotherham United 2, Preston North End 1.
Very shocked, very surprised. I say Rotherham not in fabulous form. They've They had a bad week last week with no goals, 2-1 defeats. Obviously, the week before, they heavily beat Sheffield Wednesday. But I think Preston will be very disappointed with the way that this game went. And obviously, equalising so late in the game with 10 minutes left to then lose the game with 5-6 minutes to go. You know what I mean? It's not the way that the Preston do things, you know. And yes, there was going to be a little hangover side from last year, but they've got very good players going forward. You know what I mean? You've got your Sinclairs, your Browns, your Potts, your Barkhausens. Yeah, you know what I mean? They've still got the players who were very successful last season. They're just not getting the run of games that they got last season. But cream always rises. I believe they'll still have a strong season. Paul Gallagher doesn't start the games at the minute. I don't know if he's struggling with fitness or struggling with things. You know, Maguire as well. You know, the players who played last year and excelled. You know what I mean? I don't know if they've had injuries which has impacted obviously not having a pre-season or a long break in the summer. But you know, I mean, these could all be factors which are brought into a team like Preston, because they had such a season last season, and to come so close and now they're struggling a little bit.
Yes, Preston are one of those teams, like a bit similar to who was it? I've forgotten now. Reading, who do very well every season at the start of the season, and then they kind of fade off a little bit. Preston a bit like that. I really like Matt Crooks though of Rotherham. I think he's a really good little player. I'm really pleased. I can't help myself but be pleased for Rotherham and Wycombe. Just the teams who are coming up. They struggled a bit at the start of the season, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I think they're finding their feet, coming into their own a bit now. Sheffield Wednesday 0, Millwall 0.
Oh, listen, so I can't work it out for Sheffield Wednesday. You know that they've had
Some big came out of there as well.
Obviously, coming off the back of a 1-0 home victory against Bournemouth, which is an excellent result. You play against Millwall. You absolutely batter them. You just can't score goals. But you know what I mean? They've got Josh Windass. You've got Kachunga. You've got Adam Reach. You've got Callum Patterson. You've still got players. Izzy Brown. You've still got players who should be scoring goals, and you know they're creating enough chances. I'm just, you know what I mean? Obviously, then the news of Gary Monk getting sacked, which.
So I'm going to surprise you here. And as you know, I'm no Gary Monk fan, but they're creating the chances. But those numerous attacking players, which you've just mentioned, some top championship players there, some top talent, they're creating the champion. If they are creating the chances, but they're not taking them, and you've got all those attacking players in your squad, is that down to the manager?
It's about utilising them to the strengths. It's about getting the right pairings together. It's about putting the right people in the right areas. I don't think you can't. It's not the manager's fault that the players are missing chances. You know what I mean? You've got to, but it's the manager's fault for picking the wrong players. It's the manager's fault for probably realising. You know what I mean? The amount of players that he's brought in the window, before the window. You know what I mean? You can look at Aidan Flint. You can look at Patterson. You can look at other players that he's brought in. Kachunga he brought in from Huddersfield. It's a difficult one, but he's invested a lot of money, and that's wages, that's sign-on fees, that's potential transfers and loan transfers. Then the chairman's starting to think, hang on a minute, you spent all this money, and what am I getting from it? We're still we're still bottom of the league. We're not getting the results. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, you start picking up. A new manager comes in with new ideas, and the rumours, Tony Pulis, who knows? That's what people are saying. That there's some good managers available. You've got the Cowley brothers.
So with
Eddie Howe,
Eddie Howe would be a phenomenal appointment for Sheffield Wednesday, in my opinion. Is Sheffield Wednesday one of those clubs historically whereby they won't kind of take to Tony Pulis' style of football, and maybe it wouldn't take long for the fans to start moaning and turn? Do they expect a certain a certain way of playing, or do you think they just want to get out of the Championship and they'll go with whatever's best?
I said this when Tony came to Middlesbrough, that I said I was dead against what Tony was going to bring to Middlesbrough. Dead against it. Then Tony started to win games. He got Middlesbrough in the playoffs with a poor squad. Took them against Aston Villa in a 2-legged game and run them all the way right to the end of the second leg at Villa Park. And
okay,
you know what I mean. So I think he's a great fit for Sheffield Wednesday. I think he'll be a really, really strong fit. I think he'll do a really good job. I think Sheffield Wednesday fans will. I'd be interested in if we have any in here about where people think Sheffield Wednesday will finish. Because listen, they've got 6 points. You know what I mean? So people say not to get relegated, but you've only played 11 games. So you've got 46 game
Yeah, it's a
season.
long
So
way
you've still got 35 games left.
Well,
35
Tony
games.
Pulis was appointed 2 hours or an hour ago.
Oh, has he got the job?
Yeah, he's got the
Okay.
job.
Right, okay.
He does play, like Reece says there, he plays a very Warnock sort of style of football. I think he's a bit more long ball and a bit more direct than Neil Warnock is. I think he's more akin to a Sam Allardyce. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Sam Allardyce gets a very raw deal in his reputation because he is a big part of why sports science is so big in the British game. And I think some people don't realise that. And video analysis and things like this. He brought that in at Bolton in a massive way. But yeah, Tony Pulis, I'm not sure. I'm not.
Listen, Si, if
I'm
he
glad
doesn't
to see him back in the game, though. I got to say,
if he doesn't win games, fans
He'll
won't
be under
like it.
pressure.
Fans won't like it because if you're playing the right way and you're losing, then fans can swallow it a little bit. But when you don't play the right way and you win, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then last game of the week was Watford 3, Coventry City 2.
Yeah, great game. I feel for Watford side, for Coventry side, they've let in some and a ridiculous amount of goals. You know what I mean? We played 11 games and they've let in the most goals in the league of 23, which is just outrageous. Teams around them, Derby have only let 16 in. You know what I mean? 23. Team Forest above them have let 12 in. So but they're scoring goals. You know what I mean? But 2 goals away from home is or should be enough to win a game, or enough to get you something from the game. And Andre Gray, first game back for Watford, gets himself a goal. Troy Deeney back in action as well. Came on for Andre Gray towards the end. So listen, Watford. If Watford can get those kind of players rolling back on the pitch, then they'll have a chance because they will score goals all the time. And I'm just quite surprised that they're shipping the amount of goals they are as well. Watford at times because they beat Stoke 3-2. They beat Coventry 3-2. Got beat by Barnsley, drew with Wycombe, drew with Watford. So they're regularly letting goals and they don't keep clean sheets. You know what I mean? They probably need Neil Warnock to get to sort that out. But they're winning games. So does it matter? Probably not. No. It's like watching Kevin Keegan at Newcastle.
Interestingly, they rested João Pedro. Didn't play. He was on the bench but didn't come on. Which I think is that's pretty good, really. Looking after the young players, they got a hell of a side. Like they got Capoue and Cleverley's been outstanding this year in the centre of midfield. You've got Cathcart, vastly experienced defender at the back, and then you've got people like Sarr and Gray, like you mentioned.
Listen, Si, anyone with a Cleverley in the side is going to be
that bench against Coventry is ridiculous.
Yeah.
With Chabala, João Pedro, Deeney just for 3, and then you've got like Cirilata and Bachmann, Quinner,
and they lost a lot of players as well. By the way, they lost a lot of players to balance the books. So you know, what I mean, imagine if they hadn't. You know, imagine how strong they could have been. But
interesting, mate, isn't it? So we've gone a bit long, not too long. We go about this normal time. So let's finish this up with some 2 ups and 2 downs. Let's go with the negative first and finish on a positive. What's your first down, mate, for the week?
I've gone for Cocu for Derby County. I just think he's getting so many things wrong, and if he keeps his job, you know what I mean. Look, you look at Gary Monk losing his job. Gary Monk losing his job has earned more points this season than Cocu, but Cocu's still in the job. So it doesn't always I don't make sense. So it'd be interesting this next week, 10 days, few days, because you just never know what's around the corner at the minute.
Well, think about that as well with Gary Monk. He's got all those points, and they played the majority of those games with a deficit because before they got the points back. So you know.
Well, Sion, you asked me a question earlier on about managers, clubs talking to managers behind managers' backs. That deal was done very quickly for Tony Pulis to go to Sheffield Wednesday, yeah. So that's obviously you know what I mean. That's very quick for someone to see. That's obviously been premeditated and sorted out. Which is, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I just as a manager, it's the cutthroat industry that managers have themselves in at the minute, which rightly or wrongly, they know it goes on, because if you're not in a job, you know you want a job, and if you are in a job, you're lucky and thankful that you've got a job.
Yeah, there's two ways to look at it, I suppose. Like from a football club's point of view, they'd be irresponsible to not be looking. If you're going to sack someone, you make sure you've got a short list of replacements who are interested in that job. There's no point in having, say, I want X manager as my manager next. If I sack this manager, if that manager is not going to take the job, you may as well keep the current manager until you find someone who you want. But equally, if someone's got a contract, you shouldn't be talking to someone to replace them. Really, it's
naughty. It's naughty.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my first down. It kind of fits in a bit with yours. I've gone for a little joint one with Neil Harris and Philip Cocu. Square pegs in round holes. We talked about it over and over and over again.
You like that, don't you? You like that one?
And like from Neil Harris's point of view, I thought to go back to the one up front against Bristol was ludicrous, because I felt like 2 up front versus Bristol would have given Bristol more trouble, would have made them more uncomfortable, and most importantly, it would have suited the players that Cardiff have. Philip Cocu still trying to play out from the back, still doesn't have the defenders to do it. Playing Rooney up front. I'm sorry, I don't want to see anyone lose their job, but I think he's got it. But I think both of them are probably going to be gone by Christmas. Who's your second down, mate?
I've gone for Reading's defending, and you can't always blame players. You know what I mean? If they're told to go gung-ho at times, you know what I mean? I feel sorry for people who are getting left isolated 1-on-1, for example. You know what I mean? They've had such a good start of the season. I just hope they can sort things out. Because obviously, you've got a friend of the show who watches very fondly is Michael Morrison, who's a centre half for Reading. So just for him, I'd like to see Reading turn things around.
Yeah, I would too. I've really enjoyed watching Reading this year as well. I didn't quite know what's gone wrong in the last couple of weeks, but up until then, they were really they almost took over Blackburn as my team to keep an eye on and watch each week, other than Cardiff. So my second down, I've gone for QPR. They just up and down each week. It's just it must be like stressful for QPR fans, but like they looked very, very good against Cardiff. And then all of a sudden they look useless again. And it is a bit like that. Literally one week they're good, the next week they're not. You're never going to be able to do anything in the Championship with form like that. So they need to make changes. Let's finish with some nice positive conversation. We will take a couple of questions if people want to send them in at the end of the show. But let's go with our 2-ups.
My first one's Andrew Gray for Watford. Listen, I'm a big fan when he was at Burnley. I love the way he plays. He's aggressive. He's fit. He's hungry. He's got pace. He's got power. Scores goals. And to have him in the Championship is fantastic. And I really hope he can stay fit. He can have a run in the side, because I think we'll be talking about him a lot more over the coming months, because he'll score goals. Because if he can get fit and play and have a relationship with Sarr or Deeney or all three, and Pedro, you know what I mean? He's onto a winner.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. He's a phenomenal player. So my first up, I've gone for something a bit different. I've gone for Angus Gunn of Stoke City. Early on in that game, he made 2, maybe 3 very, very good saves, which, you know, they weren't gimmies. They weren't, you know, yes, maybe there was one he should have, you know, expected to save, should we say. But he made the saves. One of them was very good. And, you know, Stoke could have been 2 down easily if he doesn't make those saves. And it's a very, very different game. Against the team, you know, if Stoke are 2-0 down, they have shown this season that, yes, they're playing well, but they've still got that little bit of last season in them. They have had a couple of results which haven't quite worked out. So they're 2 down early on. Could make a big difference, but so yeah, I thought he was very good. And the attacking players always get all the credit, so why not?
Yeah, I agree.
Give a keeper some
Rightly
credit.
so.
Second down, my friend. Second up. I do apologize.
I've gone for Norwich City, and I think I'm sure I give the same reason a couple of weeks ago, but they keep on impressing me. They keep on doing the same thing, so why not reward it? The late goals, you know what I mean? The togetherness, that they're getting driven on by somebody. If that's the manager, then fantastic. You know what I mean? Deserves huge credit. If it's the players, if it's the whoever it may be, whoever's running that team, for the manager, for the club, for everybody, is, they're going to the end. The fitness levels are fantastic. They're just pushing teams, and I said already 8 points in 4 games. It's a huge amount of points, and if they can continue that moving forward, then you're always going to be concerned that Norwich are going to score a late goal, and the amount of points that they could generate over a season is going to be massive.
Great shout, mate. Great shout. And I think it'll make a huge difference whether they come to the end of the season. My second up is David Brooks of Bournemouth. Made his return.
Great shout.
Quite a big layoff. A brace, but the overall performance after such a big layoff, I thought he was phenomenal.
Yeah, great shout.
He's a massive player for Bournemouth because they don't score a great deal of goals.
No. Well, do you know what I like, Si, as well, though? I like that managers put these players back in straight in because they're that good, because they have faith in them.
That important, aren't they?
Yeah. You've got to be careful with them. Got to be careful with them. You've got to wrap them in cotton wool, but at the same time, they're that important that they need to be playing. How can David create or score goals when he's sat on his backside?
Indeed, mate. 100%. Great. I thought it was a great return by him. Okay, so that's us with the championship. Question. Elliot Whitehead said, "What's Andy Campbell's highest rating on FIFA?" No idea.
No, I don't know. I don't know, but I can guarantee you though, my pace will have been 99.
99 speeding.
I can just refer back to Rob's comment there about Monday's show. That listen, this has been a work in progress for months and months and months and months and months. We finally got him. And people are going to see the real Leo Fortune West, because people won't believe some of the stories, what he says. People won't believe how he comes across, because he's the most genuinely nicest person you can ever meet. I'll finish off with a story side that it was Christmas Day back in 2003. So 2002, I just signed for Cardiff, and I was Leo's next door neighbour, believe it or not. So I lived in Cardiff Bay. Leo was my next door neighbour. I was on my own Christmas Day because we were playing away on Boxing Day. So Christmas night we were training. Leo knocked on my door at dinner time. Asked me to go around for Christmas dinner, which is just the nicest thing to do. He had all his family around, so sat on the table with all his family, all his friends. And you know what? I've never forgot it. And I always refer to it. Always tell him. Always say it to him, because there's certain things which is more important than football. And there's more important things to me than certain things. And that is something which has always stuck by me, because I didn't want to bring my family down for them to be sat in there in a flat on their own Christmas night. So I decided that they can all be happy. I'll have a quiet Christmas because I was working on the night and the next days and stuff. So, but him and his wife, his child, his cousins, massively looked after me, and I never forget it, and I never will, because he's an amazing human being.
Yeah, I cannot wait to chat with Leo on Monday. That's good. I'm going to be try not to fanboy too much, keep it professional. But I can't wait to have that conversation. It's going to be amazing. Let's have a look what else we got. So I had a quick look at your rating. It was about 68 in 2005. Pace was 10 out of 100. So very realistic. Reese David Evans says, if come January there's no sign of Cardiff getting promotion, do they focus on buying players or do they focus on offloading? We seem to have had too many windows of buying quantity over quality.
Oh, good question. I don't think it'll go down well if Cardiff City offloaded players and had to build up again, because
they already haven't replaced certain players, have they?
Yeah, I know. For me, Si, I think the biggest decision from the owners and the chairman would be, is the right person in charge to push these group of players forward? That's the first question I'd ask. If he is, then you back him 100% and back his decision. So if he wants to get rid of 10, he gets rid of 10. If he wants to bring 5 in, he brings 5 in. But the decision, first and foremost, has got to be, there's no point letting him spend £5 million on players in January window and then sacking him in February, because that's just the worst business plan ever. They've got to make a decision and stick by it for the right of the club and the fans and the players, because to move forward, there's got to be a plan. And at the minute, it's inconsistent.
Well, this is the one thing which worries me is that they will decide, well, there's a chance we're going to sack, or they'll decide that they don't want to give Neil Harris money because they haven't got the confidence that he's going to see out the season or he's going to use it properly, whichever way they look at it. And that's my worry. So Cardiff will end up not doing anything in January. And that's an issue for me. Geraint says, can we have a shout out for Bobby Woodruff? His 80th birthday today. It's a blast from his past year. Made 150 appearances for Cardiff City, 180 appearances for Swindon Town. Also played for Newport County, Crystal Palace and Wolves. So
happy birthday, Bobby.
Bobby Woodruff. Alan Wigglesworth says there's only one Andy Campbell, absolute legend. That's still everybody else in our league, and it's an absolute pleasure to play in the same team that him. Up the Borough, over 40s.
Alan, aka Worm, is our goalkeeper. Top lad, top goalkeeper. Great fun. I love it. I absolutely adore playing football. It's the thing what keeps me excited, it keeps me young. You know what I mean? And playing with those guys is a laugh and more every Saturday morning. I tell you, it's great.
Spot on. Elliot Whitehead said Neil Harris is decent. Andy John says Big Leo is better than the donkeys that we've got now. There we go. I think I've got all the questions now. I think there was everything. So I just to wrap us up, Monday 7:30 we'll of course have the Andy Campbell Football Show with Leo Fortune West, the special guest. That is going to be phenomenal.
I can see it being a question fest, I think, which will be absolutely fine because I'm intrigued to see what people want to ask, because one of the pictures on social media obviously is quite a famous photo at Bootham Crescent when Leo scored his hat-trick in a 3-3 draw, which they got promoted, I guess, the 2 years before I signed. You know what I mean? And for me, I've seen that photo before I signed. I've seen that photo since, and it's an iconic photo, and I put it on par with the photos that I see about myself. That, you know what I mean, that game for Cardiff City, if they hadn't got out that division that year, they wouldn't be where they are. You know, and people going about the playoff final, which I agree, it's part of a history. But Leo's goals of the season, that game is just as big.
Yeah, it's going to be. I can't wait, mate, because he doesn't do a lot of like media and podcasts and interviews and stuff. So very much, I'm really looking forward to it. This Sunday, 8 p.m, Mental Health and Sport is back with my ex-Manchester United winger Luke Chadwick, the guest. Really interesting show. We talked about bullying. We talked about media pressure on young players. And I mean, you only have to look at the social media and Twitter today and see that nothing has changed in terms of the tabloids building up players to then smash them to pieces.
More importantly, Si, as well, Luke's just a top fella. Top fellow.
He's a really, really nice guy. And he was really honest and open, and he talked about all like how he felt during that time. And we talked about academies, and it's really interesting show. The next couple actually are very, very good. I've got to say, I really enjoyed them. So that's Sunday 8:00, Monday 7:30, Andy Campbell Football Show, and of course we have the Danny Batten Fight Show Wednesday. This Friday, sure there'll be some other videos and interviews along the way. Subscribe youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Follow on Facebook and stuff at AC Footy Show. But most importantly, massive thank you to Black Diamond Sports. And if all you guys could do me one favor today, is go and check out Bespoke Financial. Tell them we sent you. Check out their stuff. They are the go-to place to get your insurance needs covered. Like my little pun there. Insurance needs covered. I like it. Forced to do this. But no, really, seriously, lads, go and check it out. Go and give a look at their stuff. And I really, really cannot recommend them enough. And most importantly, tell them we sent you. But check it out. We'll be back Monday live. And of course, we got lots of other shows coming. Andy Campbell, you are a legend, and I thank you.
Thanks, mate. This has been. I've loved tonight. It's been a long week. Not much football on tomorrow, so I might watch this show again tomorrow just to keep me buzzing.
Do you know what you should do, mate? You should do another podcast with me tomorrow. We'll just, I love it. No, thank you. And also, just last thing I'll say, a massive, huge thank you to every single person who wished me happy birthday this week. I was like so surprised and just genuinely just warmed my heart that people took the time just to say happy birthday to little old me. Enjoy your weekends, people. Thank you for tuning in. Spread the word about Ace Podcast Nation and the Andy Campbell Show. We will see you Monday for an all-new interview.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so we wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want.